the neurotransmitters are, the way your brain cells communicate with each other. They're chemicals that are released by one nerve cell to stimulate the conduction of an electrical impulse onto the next nerve cell. So that allows the transmission of electrical, impulses, and again, it's how the brain talks to itself. Neurotransmitters are essential for mental acuity, for energy, for mood, for sleep, for everything that the brain is involved in. They do get out of balance often for a variety of reasons: stress, uh, diet, lack of sleep. All these things can affect them and lead to them levels being either low or too high or whatever, and getting them out of balance. Typically, the way uh, people with mood issues, for instance, are treated is the doctor says, "Oh, well, here, try this one." And so that people, try it for a while, and maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't, then the doctor says, "Okay, well, then let's try this one. Let's try this one." It's kind of shooting from the hip all the time, which, it's we're capable of better, right? I mean, it's there's no science to it. The way I like to do it is we will do neurotransmitter testing. Neurotransmitters, they all show up in your urine, and so we just get people to give us a urine sample, and we can see what the balance of the neurotransmitters is through that test. Then, rather than just trying willy-nilly, try this one and see if it works, we can see if serotonin levels are low and somebody's having a mood issue. Well, then, yeah, we need to boost your serotonin level. The way typically that's treated these days, if that is the issue, is doctors will give you a medication like an SSRI, serotonin reuptake inhibitor. And basically, the way those work is the nerve cells will release serotonin from nerve endings, which will diffuse across the cleft between nerve cells. And when enough of the serotonin binds to the receptor on the second nerve cell, that will generate a nerve impulse in that nerve cell, and the electrical conduction, will continue. The idea with the SSRIs is to keep the serotonin in the area for long enough that enough of the receptors are stimulated to allow the electrical transmission to happen. What normally happens is after that transmission happens, the serotonin is released from the second nerve cell, and it diffuses back and gets taken back up by the first nerve cell so it can be reused. So your brain is really good about reusing all the neurotransmitters over and over and over again. But what happens when you use an SSRI is, okay, you're preventing it from being taken back up. And so it stays in the cleft longer. But by doing that, you're preventing that first nerve cell from recycling the serotonin. And so that first nerve cell becomes progressively more and more depleted in serotonin. So you're actually making the problem worse, even though for some people, for at least for a while, they feel better because there's getting enough serotonin transmission. But in the long run, they're actually becoming worse off, right? So my approach is, rather than create a bigger problem, is let's try and help the nerve make more serotonin so that it puts out enough when the electrical impulse comes along, and you don't need to prevent it from being taken back up. And so you can get the recycling going on, which is, basically the way your own brain does it. So we just help with supplements that will help the nerve cells make more serotonin and solve the problem that way without, again, without creating a bigger problem down the road.